auto shutdown canceled.
The next items we need to touch on are really settings that you're going to set one time in DTools, and you're going to forget about them. Most of you, as you're viewing these tutorials, these settings have already been set in your system, but these are things that are important to have before we make our next video, which is really creating the report and sending that to the customer. So this brief video is really just going to touch on a couple of settings, some report settings, and some overall settings. We still have our project open here, so you could set these settings with any project open, and these settings do carry throughout the application. They're not related simply to the one project. In the ribbon at the top, let's click on Settings, and you're going to check on your price adjustments. So this is where we enter the 10% contingency that we put onto the projects, and the 3% that's on the projects for the consumable materials, so the cable, the bulk cabling, the connectors, those sort of things that we don't want to get nitpicky about putting 3 DM connectors and 18 feet of cable or something on a project. 3% tends to cover those sort of consumables. So in price adjustment, we have a product adjustment. That's going to be our 10%. That is our contingent funds. Our miscellaneous parts adjustment, that's going to be that 3% for consumables. We don't put an adjustment on labor. Most of our projects don't have labor on them. So make sure you have a 10% product adjustment and a 3% miscellaneous parts adjustment. And we're going to save and close that. Now that covers our price adjustments. The next thing we want to look at is our report settings. So in the ribbon, we're going to go to the reports. We're going to come over to report settings. All right, there's a lot of things that you can really adjust in the settings to get them change the way the reports look, things like that. There's a couple of key ones that we want to touch on here. In general, under hide zero prices, we want to make sure that's a no. If we put that as a yes, our labor items would be hidden. They wouldn't show on the proposal. We want to show that we are doing labor. That labor is AV Systems Engineering, not another party. So we want to show our zero prices. The rest of these items should be default, but just make sure yours match. On images, we usually turn the cover page image to no. If we put yes, then you would want to upload a custom image for your projects each time. I find that the blank first page is professional enough and does the job, so we just usually put it as no. We don't do any things with Teams, alternate. Under optional, we typically try to change the text color if we have optional optional items on the project. I usually do like an orange or a blue. We're the Jaguars. I try to keep it orange really to catch the eye, blue because we're the Jaguars. OFE, would those OFE items show? So if we had listed that display in here, we knew what the make model was, and we put it in here and we indicated that it was OFE, would it show? We want to make sure that that's yes, because we do have that occasionally in projects. Non-billable items, again, we want to make sure yes that we have non-billable items displaying, such as our labor. The summary is really the next thing, and really probably the most important thing in proposals. And here, this is where on that last page, that summary page that's on the proposal, that product adjustment and that miscellaneous parts adjustment, we can custom define what that text is that will show on the summary page, rather than it just showing product adjustment and miscellaneous parts adjustment. That doesn't really tell our customers what it is. So on our product adjustment display name, we want to call it our 10% contingency. On our miscellaneous parts adjustment display name, we want to call it materials. And then in parentheses, we can have bulk cable, connectors, etc. The 3%, that's ours. That builds our budget to purchase more of those items whenever we need them to support projects. The 10%, any of that portion that doesn't get used, that gets given back to the customer's funding source. So it's good for them to have that total and see that total of the contingency there, so that they can kind of budget and plan for that some of that may be coming back. So these are the things that are important to change in the report settings and your product adjustment. In our next video, we'll look at how the report actually looks and sharing that report with the customer.